In this lesson, we will cover the iCreative Math branching method, and we will use this question to illustrate this method. John had 72 more mangoes than oranges. After selling 3/4 of the mangoes and 3/5 of the oranges, he was left with some mangoes and 48 oranges. How many oranges did he have at first? And B, the mangoes were sold at $2.85 each and the oranges at 55 cents each. How much money did he receive altogether? So under the branching method, we first list all the quantities mentioned in the question. So in this question, we have mangoes and we have oranges. And the second point to note is that if a question mentions two or more fractions, we would want to take note of the denominators of the fraction, and we would typically use a multiple of the denominators as our starting units. So in this case, 20 units. So John had 72 more mangoes than oranges. We will use the multiple of the two denominators, 4 and 5, 20 units as the starting units for the number of oranges, and the mangoes will be 20 units plus 72. The question talks about some mangoes and oranges being sold. So we have also in the branching method diagram, sold balance for mangoes and sold balance for oranges. And now we are ready to depict the information given in the question in this diagram. So the question mentioned 3/4 of the mangoes were sold. So if there are 20 units and 72 mangoes at first, and if John had sold 3/4 of the mangoes, we can represent that as 15 units, which is 3/4 of 20, plus 54, 3/4 of 72, as the total quantities of mangoes sold. The balance will similarly be 1/4 of 20 units, 5 units, and 1/4 of 72, 18. Then we move on to oranges. Questions indicated 3/5 of the oranges were sold. So 3/5 of 20 units would be 12 units. And 2/5 of oranges unsold, so 8 units balance. The question then mentions that he was left with some mangoes and 48 oranges. So that tells us that 8 units equals to 48. Hence, 1 unit equals to 6. Now we are ready to answer the question. How many oranges did he have at first? John had 20 units of oranges at first. Therefore, we'll find 20 units equals to 120. So there you have it, the answer to the first part of the question. John had 120 oranges at first. Part B of the question, mangoes were sold at $2.85 each and oranges at 55 cents each. How much money did he receive altogether? So let's work out how many mangoes were sold. 15 units plus 54. So 15 times 6 plus 54, 144. And we had 12 units of oranges sold. So 12 times 6, 72. So the total money that John would have received would be 144 mangoes times 2.85 each plus 72 oranges sold times 55 cents each, giving a total of $450. Hence the answer, John received a total of $450. A quick recap under the branching method. First, we list the quantities that are mentioned in the question and draw a simple branching diagram. So in this case, we have mangoes, some sold, some in the balance. Similarly, oranges, some were sold and some left in the balance. And the second thing to take note of is if the questions mention two or more fractions, take note of the denominators of the fractions mentioned in the question and take the multiple of the denominators, in this case 4 times 5, 20, as your starting units. With that, you will find that you will be able to split it nicely and avoid fractions as you go along and follow through the question and split according to the fractions mentioned in the question. I now leave you with two practice questions on branching method. Give it a go and see if you are able to apply the branching method that you have just learned. The answers to each of these questions can be found at the bottom of each question.